Hey everyone, this is the SLC Dunk post-game immediate reaction video for game number 10. We played the Philadelphia 76ers and they stomped on us. We made it kind of close here and there, had a few runs, and we ended up losing 99 to 93. It was a really bad game for our starters. They they kind of sleepwalked through most of it, and I kind of felt like it was unnecessary to do that. This is precisely the game that we would definitely lose last year. I was hoping that we were going to win this one because that would actually display some sort of growth on our part. It was a poor start for the Jazz. They were playing poor defense. They were going behind the screen instead of trying to fight through it. As a result, Philly was getting a lot of open threes, and they were making their threes. And you have to take your hat off to them. Drew Holiday and Jason Richardson, they were really doing it. They actually pretty much controlled the beginning of the game. And the Jazz didn't punch back, and they ended up losing the first quarter 30 to 20. The Utah Jazz bench came in and they hustled and hustled and hustled, and they changed the intensity of the game because they actually played with intensity. They played with urgency. And a big shout out to DeMario Carroll, who had his season high and career high 17 points in this game. He's really the only guy who showed up and kept it consistent throughout the game. Our bench guys did play better, but it's not like they necessarily shot better. They just had more hustle. Randy Foye fell back to earth again. He went 2 for 7. Derek Favors went 3 for 8. They both contributed in other ways, but it's not like they were contributing on both sides of the court like DeMario was. I have a bunch of notes here. It's kind of disappointing. Drew and Jason Richardson actually had 26 and 20 points. That was their backcourt 46. The advantage for Philly was supposed to be that their backcourt and wings were super athletic and would give us trouble. On the flip side, the Utah Jazz was supposed to use their strength, which was being on the inside. Without Andrew Bynum and with Spencer Hawes being Spencer Hawes, the only real line of defense was supposed to be Kwame Brown, and sadly, apparently Kwame Brown was enough. Al Jefferson had 15 and 9. 15 and 9. Derek Favors had 8 and 7. Enes Kanter had 4 and 3, and Paul Millsap had 22 and 9. And that's not getting it done. Like, we should be feeding those guys, and when we do feed them, they should be able to do something with it. And it just didn't happen. We didn't counterattack with our strength. I don't remember if Tyrone Corbin even went with the big lineup that was working so well. He does seem to be favoring the hot guy at that moment. And a few games ago, it was Randy Foye. In Toronto, it was Derek Favors. Tonight, it was DeMario. So he got more playing time than usual. That's a good way to coach because that means that you're taking into account what's actually happening in the game as opposed to relying too heavily on your pre-game strategies. So I think that's a good thing. I don't know if that means that you should abandon everything that you're doing. This should have been a win. We should have pounded it inside. We should have dominated on the glass. It didn't happen. In fact, Philly won points in the paint 42 to 38. They won offensive rebounding 11 to 10, and they won blocks 7 to 6. That's really bad. Like, this is a team that did not have their starting big. The rest of their bigs are garbage, absolute trash, and we still weren't able to beat them. It was not good at all. Moving forward, we have we finish up this road trip in Washington tomorrow. The Jazz need to win that one, and I'm almost certain they will. I have to say that Philly, this was their third game in a 5-game homestand, and so far on that homestand, they had not won a game at home yet, and this was just their second home win of the season. And the previous game to this, they got their butts kicked by the Detroit Pistons for the Detroit's first win of the season. So I think in terms of motivation, Philly had more motivation going into this game. It just shows that the Jazz don't have that killer instinct yet. They definitely should have won this game. It was only a 6-point margin, but that's only because Millsap started knocking down threes again. The starters need to do better. The bench needs to do better, but overall there needs to be more consistent effort on offense and defense. There's only one guy hustling out there, only one guy playing with something to gain. You know, everybody out there seemed to be playing because they had nothing to gain from playing hard in this game. It's a little bit disappointing. I expected Gordon Hayward to do better. He went 1 for 4 from downtown. Marvin Williams was another no-show. He went 1 for 4 overall. Together, those guys ended up with 10 points, and those are your starting wings. If those are the guys who are starting, who are they keeping on the bench? And what are they doing to keep them on the bench? Hayward finished with a line of 8 points. Oh my God, no rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. We all love the Precious. He needs to do more, though. He really needs to do more if we think that he's going to be that guy who could maybe one day be an all-star or something. Marvin Williams had 2 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block. Altogether, they went 4 for 10 shooting and 1 for 5 from downtown. They only went to the free throw line twice. Like, we want the bigs to dominate. The bigs should have dominated. But we can't get nothing from our wing players, especially on a night where the backcourt of Philly gets 46 points. Like, we needed something. I did notice that Mo Williams hurt his hand in the first half. He was kind of holding it after a defensive sequence, and maybe that affected his shooting. It is in his non-shooting hand, his left hand. He did come back to shoot a little bit better in the second half, but overall, he went 5 for 14. Big Al went 5 for 14. I think you can point a lot of fingers, but collectively, this is the Jazz loss. They really should have stepped up. They should have played better. They didn't. Philly won this game. They beat us. They kept us out of arm's reach for most of the game. And every time that we went on a run, they came back and they got it done. So Jazz got to play better tomorrow in Washington. Right now, the Jazz are 4-6. The first 10 games of the season, so 1/8 of the season is over. And we're not a good team. Our record makes us look like a worse team than we actually are. But the good news is that we already knew that our record to begin the season was going to be disproportionately poor because of the schedule. So I'm not going crazy yet. Kind of disappointed. We hung in there in Boston. We won in Toronto. We seem to take this game for granted. They have to have their heads on straight for tomorrow's game. And I hope we win. We better win because we're actually having guests tomorrow. So it's not just me. All right, this has been Amar for SLC Dunk, and this is the SLC Dunk post-game immediate reaction video. Philly wins 99-93. Go Jazz, go!